We're live.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the City Council meeting for Monday, August 15th, 2022. If we could have a roll call, Madam Clerk, to establish quorum.
Harry Meyer.
Here.
Autumn Slane.
Here.
Bill Ott.
Here.
Terry McClung.
I'm here.
Melissa Green.
Here.
And Nick Roberts is absent with notice.
All right.
For the quorum.
If we could stand for the pledge of allegiance. Flag back there? Are we missing our flag again?
Flag is. I forgot to look for it. Oh, there it is.
Time out to this flag.
Presenting colors. Sorry about that.
Mr. McClung presents the colors. Thank you, Mr. McClung. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second? All right, I think Ms. McClung made the motion and Mr. Myers seconded. Any changes, additions, corrections? Since Mr. Roberts is not here, do we want to continue on with the new business, item number 1 and 2?
I could continue that.
I'm sorry?
I could continue that.
Okay, both of them?
Both.
Okay. We will leave them on the agenda then. Anything else, anybody? All right.
I would like to add like a little CAPC update. There are a couple of concerns I have as far as quorum.
Would you like to do that under the CAPC item in the commission report?
Where is that?
Under Commissions, Committee Authority reports?
Okay. Yeah, I don't really, I just have a little short, some concerns.
All right. If there's nothing else, all those in favor of the agenda as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I get a motion to approve the minutes for July 25th.
I move we accept the minutes as they were presented.
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Ott made the motion and Mr. Myers seconded to approve the minutes for July 25th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Well, speaking of which, we get in the CAPC, we do have a couple of positions that have expired, and we have our second quarter financial report that's in your packet.
Nope, it wasn't approved.
Nope.
It's not?
Nope.
No, it was not approved by the CAPC.
Oh, well, that's right. It's in my packet.
Well,
All right, it wasn't approved, but it's, well, yes, since it wasn't approved,
While that's being discussed, the reason it wasn't approved was because the quorum disappeared.
all right.
All they had to do was approve the financials, but they decided not to.
Well, speaking to that,
Okay, just a moment here.
Okay.
All right. That being the case, then, Ms. Lane, you want to go ahead and make your,
so in the last meeting, our chair was out on vacation. He's going to be out for a month or so. And we had two people that were vacated about a month ago previous to this. And one of the persons were going to chair the meeting. Nick had brought in a state statute that said you have to vacate the seat. I read the statute. It seemed like it was pretty legit. As far as you vacate the seat, you're no longer able to serve on the table, much less chair the meeting. There was an altercation. I decided to leave because I didn't want to be a part of any of that. Nick left as well. My concern with this is we just need some clear guidance over there. Madison went ahead and moved on with the meeting and allowed Mr. DeVito to chair the meeting, which his seat was already vacant and 30 days prior. So I don't really know the rules and regulations, but I didn't want to be a part of any of it to, I just didn't feel comfortable. But what that is doing is now we have no time to even vote for anybody else. There's no quorum, nor will there ever be one, because now we've waited until all this is expired. It's just resulting in delays of votes, delays of the community people that came to that meeting to get some approvals on some things. I also am concerned with their budget and Paradise. Paradise is saying that we have great results, great numbers coming off of them, but I'm not seeing any of that translation into our business folks. So that's a concern. Townwide events, we don't have any car shows this year, and nobody is making a calendar, which in history, the CAPC has always done a really good job about kind of keeping us all on track and letting us know what's coming up in the weekends, and then that allows us to advertise as business people. Nothing's been planned for our next year's marketing, and really we should be doing that now. I think that's about it. That's my concerns.
Mr. Meyer?
I guess question for the city attorney. I was under the impression that until a seat was filled, the person that had the seat could stay in that seat until the vacancy was filled.
That's the way I believe it's been, that
It's always been that way.
that's been that way. I haven't looked it up, but typically, if a person has a seat, their seat expires, but they haven't been replaced, they continue on until they are replaced.
To keep business going, right?
Yeah, it's necessary to keep it going.
Is that, if I may, is that even if they are no longer a business owner or manager, doesn't matter? That might be the caveat that breaks.
I think that's part of the lawsuit that we're in, Terry. I'm sorry, Mr. McClung and it would determine that he was still a part of the CAPC.
Well, and then can they vote on their own seat?
Yes.
That isn't also a problem.
There's no voting on the seat.
Ms. Green?
I'll read state law. Article 19, Section 5 of the Arkansas Constitution provides that elected officials continue in the office after their term expires until their successors are elected and qualified. However, this provision does not apply to members of commissions or boards who are not elected to their positions. Arkansas Opinion, Attorney General Opinion, number 90024. However, according to the Attorney General's opinion, they may continue to serve de facto officials until the replacements are appointed. And basically, they are elected. We elect them. We don't appoint them, Terry, we elect them. But they still can sit there de facto and conduct business. And James was not a chair. He was running the meeting. There's a huge difference. Patrick was the vice chair. It would be equivalent, you're the pro mayor. If you weren't here and Butch had a sore throat, he could say, Melissa, would you chair the meeting? All that means is I'm running it. I am not a chair. I was extremely disappointed to have people take the law in their own hands and walk out, throw a meeting where we do not have our financials. We seem to be worried about budgets that are out of our control, but yet I didn't get my financials to approve, and they're important. And, attacking another commissioner was inappropriate, and James, too, ended up being inappropriate because he was attacked. That was a really bad meeting, and I'm still pretty angry about that. And yes, things need to get done, but they need to get done without agendas being slapped on the table. And so, yes, I believe you're right. I don't think anybody's going to be there in August because everybody's on vacation. And so we're going to have to wait till September to get our finances.
Mr. Marks?
Well, yes, Autumn, I understand that you have some ideas and some complaints, that's cool, but to walk out on a meeting was, in my opinion, childish. And we need to have decorum at these meetings. We need to, if we can't get what we want, we need to do what we have to do. And the reason that people on the council are appointed to that commission is so that business can be done, and you're our representative. You didn't bring the financials to us. You haven't been giving us updates.
You think for some reason...
Wait,
I have
please.
the chair, I have the floor. I'd like to make a motion that Nick be removed from the CAPC, and we appoint someone else.
I would second that for discussion.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Mr. McClung?
If we're appointed to that from the council to the CAPC for one-year increments, and then it's subject to change each January. This is Nick's first experience, Autumn's first experience. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to this. There's a learning curve involved. Not everything is going to go perfectly. Not everyone's going to get along. But I think you have to let the process run its course for the year. I don't think the city council needs to manage the CAPC in this way. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. I think they need to work within their confines. If they don't learn how to work together and make the decisions, then what makes you think the next one's going to be able to? I don't think that's the way to let it go. I think it needs to, continue for the year like it is. And they need to work it out. And yes, I believe that people get heated. People are people. That's just the nature of the beast, and we do have to apply ourselves mentally to pull ourselves back and not get out of hand. And when there's conflict or when there's tension or whatever, we can do it. We do it all the time. We have to be able to get along to get anything done. So, and I think that they need to proceed and work it out. I don't want this group to take charge of that. It's not a good idea.
Ms. Lane?
I think what transpired that evening was something that I was fearful of getting a lawsuit myself. So for somebody to even say that it was childish, it's absolutely ridiculous. But I do feel like when somebody's flipping somebody the bird across me to at somebody else, I don't feel comfortable with staying. And when I already feel like the seat was vacated and that's what should have happened, that's what I felt like was best, because I literally did not even want to be a part of a situation that I felt like may be illegal. And I also told Madison before I left that I really think we should tread lightly. This is dangerous territory, because we're in a lawsuit right now for that, this exact situation. So I expressed my concerns, and yes, I left. But I don't know what to do from here. That's why I'm talking to you guys, because we've reached a point where things are a little out of control, I feel like. And they don't seem to be getting any better.
And you don't think they're going to get any better?
I don't know.
Is that what you
I
said?
truly don't know. I don't,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I was just
I don't
asking
know if they're gonna-
That's what you said.
I don't know if they'll get any better.
Okay.
I don't know if we're on a path here that is getting better.
Ms. Green?
We can replace counselors. We cannot replace, we cannot remove, it is state law, we cannot remove a commissioner for any reason. Even if James wanted to sit there and no longer had a restaurant, we legally cannot remove him. James did the ethical thing. His restaurant closed the next day after that meeting, and he resigned and left. And I give him a lot of credit. And Autumn, from the text I got before you got there, it was out of control, and James should not have flipped somebody off. I 100% agree. But when you're pushed and harassed, you're going to lose it, and James did. And that was unfortunate. And I guess I felt like you two took the law in your hands and decided that you felt like you knew the law. Our city attorney wasn't there. You should have stayed. You wouldn't have been sued. You were doing the right thing by conducting a meeting. It says very clearly that a person can sit there de facto. I've known people that have sat there for 2 years in a vacant seat. It was just never filled. So if I were to replace someone, I would certainly like Mr. Ott to go on and maybe get some calmness going on, because you're right, things need to start getting done on there. There's important things. Our car shows, we are having some have been canceled by them, not us. You know, because of COVID, they don't want to come. So, you know, we're taking baby steps in a lot of different directions, but that's where we need strong leadership and not people that are going to walk out. And I think you try. I think you really do try to bring something to it. I wouldn't never vote to remove you, but I could easily vote to ask Mr. Ott to replace Nick and see if that will work.
Mr. Myers?
See, we got sued over Greg Moon because the CAPC removed him, and he didn't run a restaurant at that time. I don't know how long he'd been away from the place that he worked.
And we did it on legal advice.
To assume that they are automatically off, that there's a vacancy, no, there's no vacancy until a vacancy is declared. That's the way it's been, and that was determined by the law. And Madison has nothing to do with running the commission. She's an employee. She can provide you data from what she does with Paradise and what she's doing, but as far as Nick asked her to call the police, for Pete's sake. That's ridiculous. Like Mr. McClung said, we have to have some decorum with these things, and I understand everyone has their opinions, but not everybody's right.
Mr. McClung?
It traditionally, as far back as I can remember, that person that was leaving stays until he's replaced. But the seat becomes vacant upon expiration. Mm-hmm. Either he or she is put back on, you know, goes through the process and gets put back on, or someone else, you know, gets voted in to take that position. And when that happens, then that's when they should step out. Personally, I don't like it when they're left that way. They need to be either reinstated or replaced. And usually, and that's that way because, you know, you think, well, maybe a month or two. It shouldn't be for any length of time. Of course, James is, you know, he's already left town, so he resigned and gone. So I think we need to look at, for these two positions, I think we need to actively, or the CAPC needs to actively, you know, or us collectively, you know, to replace those two positions. That, you know, they need to be done. Sooner the better, in my opinion, but that's just all that is.
Mr. Myers?
There's been times in the past when nobody wanted to be on the CAPC. I can remember when
Really?
people that were appointed, were just stayed on the CAPC because nobody else wanted their turn in the barrel. So, if we're talking about, got to replace them right away, what James's position ended in June, is that right? So, it's just a little bit into August and he's gone. And it just, happens when several people are off, but no, I don't want to run the CAPC, but I sure wish they'd act with a little decorum. There's no sense in threatening to call the police on someone that's sitting at the table. That's absurd. And dragging an employee into the argument is even worse.
Mr. McClung?
Well, if there's nothing further, I don't want to call the question. I'd rather we just vote.
Vote?
Well, we are calling the question. I mean, basically, if there's nothing else, then there's a motion on the floor, I believe by Mr. Myers. Ms. Green, did you second that?
I did for discussion.
Okay, for discussion. So all those in favor of removing Nick as a city council representative to the CAPC, we probably should have a roll call.
That's a good idea. Mr. Ott?
Since my name has been brought up as a possible replacement, I will abstain on voting one way or the other.
Ms. Lane?
No.
Mr. McClung?
Nope.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
2-2-0.
Okay, it looks like the motion fails for lack of 4 votes.
It's got to be 3, it's got to be 4 votes. What, has to be 4?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay. All right, we're going to move on then to, we do have a couple applications in the parks for new positions for a vote for Lori Kramer to occupy position 4 in parks. Ms. Green?
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the application of Lori Cramond for position 4 for Parks.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have a vote for application from Sharissa Litherland. Yes.
I'll make a motion that we vote for position 7 for Carissa Litherland and approve the application for Parks.
Second.
Ms. Green made the motion, Mr. Ott seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. All right, do we have a cemetery report, financial?
It's already, it was the last meeting.
Okay, so that's not even on there. All right, that brings us up to our public comments. Please limit your time to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name's Eric Schooneman. I'm a 24-year resident of Mill Hollow and a Eureka Springs resident. I'm speaking tonight regarding the proposed ordinance, the second reading tonight regarding the removal of camping on private property. Reading in the newspaper, I saw 2 reports from both newspapers that there's an issue on Mountain Street regarding noise and trash. from some people that are camping there. I would suggest that we simply enforce the noise and trash laws instead of creating a new law to restrict all residents of Eureka Springs from the use of their property in whichever way they choose. I'm encouraging y'all to vote no on the second reading on tonight's ordinance that is proposed to remove the camping from Eureka Springs residents. So thank you very much for your attention. Oh, also, this is going to affect how people could get to Eureka Springs. Right now, housing is such a problem in Eureka Springs. We have converted a lot of our local residents to bed and breakfast, so we have a big housing problem. Y'all are very well aware of it. Local business owners, hotel owners, restaurants can't find people, service workers. So restricting camping, it prohibits these people from checking out this town. For 20 years, I've had campers on my property free, friends, relatives, friends of friends, just so they could check out Eureka. Prohibiting camping is really going to detriment the city tremendously right now. Like I said, we have a housing issue problem, so being able to camp is really important too, and especially for finding entry-level beginning workers that we need for this city. So please consider that as well. Thank you very much for your attention.
All right, is there anybody else? I guess that concludes our public comments for this evening. That will take us into our unfinished business, which is ordinance 2326, camping on private property. Get a
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right. All right, Ms. Lane?
I have to echo Eric because I've expressed it last meeting, and I'll express it again. I strongly disagree with this ordinance. I don't feel like going on to public or private property to tell anybody that they can't camp on it is correct. And I think we're opening ourselves up to further lawsuits when you can just deal with these couple issues that we are having. I truly feel like it's infringing upon the rights of our citizens.
Mr. Meyer?
Well, it's brought to my attention that we have people camping on city streets. They may move around a little bit, but they are camping, living on a camper on city streets. There's a couple of them that have been here for quite a long time, right there on Spring Street in front of the Basin Park, in front of businesses, and so unless we solve that problem, which is already against an ordinance, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't move forward on this.
All right, anyone else? Ms. Green?
I brought up last week, and we have in our city code that if you have a camper and it's out of the eye of the street, you can have it back there. And I think what Ms. Slane is talking about is that people do come and stay with friends with a camper. I don't have a problem if it's on somebody's property. They have a house, they have water, they have sewer, they have trash. But when people are camping on pretty much vacant property, there is no sewer, there is no water, there is no trash. And I agree. I'm not sure this might be the answer, but I think we do have something. And Mr. Schuterman is correct. And there are ways, because this is a big thing. People are traveling in these vans and living in them, and they've become our seasonal workers in this country. And they have to work and they need to work. And places like Amazon, tourist attractions, baseball companies provide places for these people. They provide amenities, and they part of their pay is a place to stay and live that's safe and comfortable. And to Ms. Slane's husband, I had a long talk about that about a year ago. And I agree. I don't want to take away that, but having people on private property where there is no sewer, there is no water, there's no trash pickup, it is a nuisance. So, maybe we need to further examine this, but we do need something to address that.
Mr. Ott?
Well, Mayor, I don't really see this ordinance as being that someone can't pitch a tent and live on someone's property over the weekend if they're coming for a weekend event or just to visit. What this does is this eliminates the abuse. That's why I put the 7 days in there. That keeps people from setting up residence, so to speak, in a tent or a camper or whatever. And I think this is what, at least in my estimation, this is what this ordinance does, is it guards against the abuse of camping out on someone's private property or parking a motorhome on someone's property. So I don't think it's infringing on people's rights. It's just protecting the city from having tent cities, so to speak. And that's why I put the 7 days in there.
Mr. McClung?
As explained by our city attorney at our last meeting, until someone complains, it's not a problem. And so that's what this ordinance does. It gives the ability for a neighbor that if it's affects them and their quality of life and they complain, then it gives us an avenue to rectify it. So I'd like to suspend the rules and place ordinance number 2326 up for its second reading by title only.
Second.
Ms. Lane, I'm sorry. I know you keep thinking that you get rudely interrupted and you're not able to talk, but the motions are in priorities and the motion was made. So there's a motion been made and a second to bring this up for a second reading.
Mr. Ott?
No, she can still discuss.
Yeah. Discussion on the ordinance, she can still.
Okay. There's been a motion. Mr. McClung, what was your motion again?
My motion was to, well, yeah, you're right. We need to read it and then discuss it.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Okay.
Suspend the rules.
Yeah.
All right. Aye.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Lane?
No.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
4-1.
All right. Now then, we'll be able to go ahead.
Excuse me,
Ms.
sir.
Lane,
She needs to
Let me
read
read
it.
I'm sorry.
the
Go
title.
ahead. I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ordinance number 2326, an ordinance to limit camping on private property.
All right. Ms. Lane, you had a motion.
Yeah,
You
I
want
just
to-
had one thing. It's 7 days total for the year, and then $50 every day after that. So 7 days in the whole year is just not very much. That's all I was going to say.
All right. Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2326 on its second reading.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Mr. McClung and a second by Mr. Meyer. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry.
This has been brought up by 3 vans on a small lot. There's a lot of people that are living in their vans and traveling around the country. I don't even know if these 3 vans are, these guys in these 3 vans are actually employees of anyone or anything. They may have a little income from someplace else, so I don't think we're depriving any of the businesses. That's all I got to say.
All right, any further discussion? Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Okay. 4-1.
4-1.
4-1, yeah. All right, that's going to take us on to our new business for the fire department, public safety, and budget concern. Get a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss fire department and public safety.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right.
So I didn't have this on my radar to lead this, but I have spoken to a couple people in the fire department since this whole thing has come up. And there has been some, just kind of a general consensus that it's kind of a lackadaisical, rules and regulations aren't being followed. As far as equipment wearing, training requirements, we're not requiring our firefighters to be going to the training. Other fire departments are now refusing to work with us in Eureka because we're not giving our time, and they're just kind of, it's not a give and take, is what I've been hearing. And without proper rules, we're going to just have more liabilities. And there was also concerns about ISO and insurance, which affects our entire community. So that's really all I have. I don't have any.
All that you're talking about, and for this council's information and for the public out there, are administrative situations. We have talked to the fire chief about that prior to Mr. Kelly being relieved. So a lot of this information that you're talking about has been resolved, and that is strictly administrative and not city council.
Okay. That's the only thing I knew about. I don't know what he was going to bring to the table.
Mr.
Yeah, Mr.
Roberts
was
may
on
be
the
in the same thing. The only thing the city council is doing is budget concerns.
Okay.
If you got a problem with the budget, the fire department, we can talk about that.
Well, I did hear about some payroll concerns, but that's probably also administrative. Like people on salary leaving before their salaried time.
That again
and
is
then-
administrative.
Okay,
And that is something that we have talked about with the fire chief
okay,
2 months ago.
okay.
And I think a lot of that has been solved. There's a different procedures up there now, so I don't think we have the same problems that there was up there earlier. All right, anybody else? All right, going on to second item of business, motion to discuss the update on the 2010 drainage tunnel engineering report.
I'll make a motion to discuss.
Do I
the
have a
drainage
second?
tunnel.
Second.
So again, I was not prepared for this because this was Nick's, but I received the same lawsuit, I think, as we all have up here. And it's just concerning the lower underneath Spring Street. My concerns, it's public safety. If this is kind of the same similar problem we're having with the bandstand. It's just kind of crumbling. And when is it our responsibility to do something about it? I know it's not city property, but I do feel like we need to step in at some point and either help facilitate or help do something. Because what happens when this falls in and then somebody sues the city because they fell in a sinkhole?
Mr. McClung? You
Yeah,
got
it's,
comments?
I think it's, you're right. I mean, it is a problem, but it is a private property problem, and whenever this report was done, we tried to get an improvement district formed. The property owners, of which the city would also, would have participated in, I believe, if it would have, if I remember it right, when it was all talked about, you know, the county, because they own the courthouse and the parking lots, the city because, you know, this property, and what we're really referring to mainly is from up at Cornerstone Bank, or CS Bank, Bank Eureka Springs, whatever you want to call it, down to the tunnel, And that's the primary. So, we tried to make some inroads with the property owners, and it fizzled. Just didn't want to participate.
Ms. Green?
I was on planning when we had a meeting about it, and you're correct, Mr. McClung. The private property owners wanted really nothing to do with it. Butch, hasn't the city pretty much fixed our areas in the last few years? We've had some cave-ins.
The city pretty much has taken care of our responsibilities. Mr. Cross has taken care of his problems under the parking lots on his property. Charles Epley has repaired his property. The owner down at Grand Central, that's been taken care of, repaired. It appears that most of our issues have been over the parking lots because we have large 18-wheelers driving over the parking lots causing, and when these tunnels and when these parking lots were designed, they weren't designed for 18-wheelers. They didn't even have a lot of cars back in through there. Mr. McClung is correct in the fact that in 2014, we had a Eureka Springs Hazard Mitigation Plan. I'm not sure when you moved to Eureka. And at that point, it was pointed out that the drainage and the tunnels underneath the buildings were the owner's property. And we didn't have the right or liability to do anything under their buildings. So in 2016, we held 2 different meetings, maybe 3, in this building, and had a public hearing and got all the property owners from here. And the original property was from here, just under what was encased, over the tunnels from here down to past Grand Central. After that, it becomes basically open, or except for there's 3 or 4 buildings down there. The main stage is over the creek too. And at that point, we decided to enlarge the district all the way down to the train station, because the retaining walls that form the sides of the creek belong to the property owners. It's not the city. The highway department their right-of-way is from curb to curb. They won't even touch, and we've had to pull some teeth to get them to fix some stuff beyond the curb, hardly. So they will not do that, and that basically becomes property owners. Not the city's responsibility, but the property owners of those retaining walls. So what we were trying to do in 2016 was to form a tax district that would take and allow a process to repair or go in and maintain and look at the conditions underneath the buildings, and if it was needing to be able to repair those situations. And Mr. McClung was also correct. At that time, a vote was basically taken, and none of the property owners wanted to join or make a property improvement district. So therefore, the project got stopped.
Okay.
So the property owners aren't willing to come in and take part of their responsibility of that. There's not much the city can do.
Okay,
On there, Mr. Myers.
thank you.
And the city did repair the Flint Street tunnel, which was pretty nasty.
That was part of the city's responsibility.
That's exactly right.
And we were, again, 8 years ago, when I first came into office, we repaired we had a collapse right outside the auditorium. And in the 2014 mitigation plan, I had warned that there's a cornerstone that's about to fail if something wasn't done. Well, something wasn't done and it failed, and so we had to go in along with the county to repair that. And that was a big project. So we've repaired the parking lots at that point, and then down there, like I said, Flint Street, and that was another big one. Fortunately, we were able to get grants for both of those. So,
Found a Model T.
yeah. Yeah, we found some interesting artifacts down there. I wasn't real happy when we had to have an archaeologist on staff full-time, but, that was part of it.
Well,
So that's kind of where we are with that.
Who got the Model T is what I want to
yeah,
know.
at least you didn't find any bodies.
No, that's true. Not like out in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
All right. Is that,
Thank you. Thank you
answer?
for the history and,
Yeah.
Yep.
This is a concern, and you're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
it is.
Although I think the biggest problem was underneath the parking lots because of the truck traffic. Most of these buildings, the tunnels are in pretty good shape underneath the buildings. I think you can see the Mud Street, those buildings, and you can actually see down under there. And the other tunnels that we've been up through there aren't in bad condition. But I haven't been under there in several years either.
I can testify to that. When John Cross's parking lot collapsed early one Sunday morning, a friend of mine went down there, and we went all the way up as far as we could go past Mud Street.
And what did you find?
It was fine. It was in good shape.
Yeah.
And we came down a little ways, but not very far. It was too mucky.
All right. Now, we do have a mitigation plan here that you're welcome to read and come in and look at any time, along with a lot of photographs of the tunnels too. So, all right, anybody else? All right, hearing nothing on that, our next item is update on the BKD audit. Get a motion to discuss?
motion to discuss the BKD audit.
Second.
All right. I think Michael is still here. He's been waiting for this one.
Thank you for staying, Michael.
Actually, I think he's got some kind of relatively good news.
Yeah. So we got everything to BK&D that they had asked for to complete the audit. They have since completed the audit. At this stage, what you do is once the audit firm completes the audit, they send it out for what they call a peer review. It's basically to another audit firm that they work with and go back and forth with. They send it out to them, they review it, just make sure that their findings are okay and that what we submitted is okay. And so it's completed, but it is in the peer review. Now that could take anywhere from a couple of weeks to a month before it comes out of that peer review. The lady who was doing the peer review for our review, she was out last week on vacation. She's back in the office this week, and so they've got it to her, and she's working on the peer review. So once the peer review is completed, then they will give us our copy of the audit. So they have everything that they need at this point from us.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Do they require a map of the sewer system and water system in this audit?
Then, not to my knowledge, they did not.
Oh,
Repeat that question again?
if they require a map for the sewer and water system
No,
for the audit?
not for the audit, financial audit.
This is a financial audit, basically, where they're auditing, making sure that the money's coming in, is going to the right places, money that we get from grants is going to the right places, that it's being used in the water department, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Autumn?
And that concludes everything that we were backed up on.
2018. Now, once they issue the 2018, we'll start on the 2019.
Okay.
We'll start getting them the documentation on that.
Okay.
And do we send those directly to the state auditor?
No, this is a kind of a unique situation because this is the first year that actually the legislative audit has addressed the fact of the water and sewer audits. So basically what we do is we let them know that we have it, and then if they want to look at it, then we provide them a copy of it.
Yeah.
And we are in the throes of our legislative audit. They arrived today, so they will be here for the next 2 or 3 months working on our audit.
I think, correct me if I'm mistaken, but the 2017 audit, that we let them know that it was there, but they weren't aware?
Yes, the 2017 audit was done in October of 2020, was completed in October of 2020. It would have been available to them to review, but there was a little bit of, we didn't understand that they actually wanted it. It wasn't communicated to us that they wanted it, and then they kind of wrote us up in the legislative audit. That's kind of where we were a little bit unknown about that because they never addressed it or asked for it before, because they do not do the water audit. That's why we have to get an outside firm. So they hadn't asked us about it before. But they did ask about it. They are going to ask about it this year, so we'll be able to provide them what we have to this point.
All right, anyone else? All right, thank you very
Thank you,
much,
Ray.
Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, that concludes our regular scheduled meetings, agenda items.
No.
Got
One
second.
more.
Oh,
The second quarter financials. Number 4.
I didn't have it on my agenda. I'm sorry. Not on mine. Okay.
You got stuff we didn't get.
Yeah,
We got
yeah,
stuff
you
you didn't.
didn't get.
Okay, second quarter 2022 financials, I'm sorry.
And of the 5 elements, we saw the long-term liabilities earlier today. Here are the receipts, here's payroll, and the check register. The missing element is the bank balances, and that's being reviewed with a fine-tooth comb and hopefully will be available at the next meeting, but it is not yet this evening.
All right, any questions?
We just need to make sure that this item's on our next meeting then, right?
I'll take care of it, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now then, that comes up to our agenda setting. Anyone? Mr. McClung?
Yeah, I would like to, and I don't know if we can facilitate this or not, but we may have to do it differently, but I'd kind of like to do a group visit down to the basement prior to the next meeting, and then have a discussion on our council meetings, the CAPC, the other meetings.
No, wait a minute, repeat that again?
I would like to have a group visit so we can all be looking at the same thing at the same time downstairs in the basement here.
Why don't we just have a walkthrough prior to our meeting?
Yes, exactly what I would like to have.
All right,
And
we can
then
do that.
I want to have as an agenda item a discussion about using the basement for our council meetings, CAPC meetings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm not sure we
I'll
can
second that.
tell them where to have it. We can certainly do the city council.
Well, that's what that's the whole reason behind initiating the work in the basement was for our meetings. And so I think we need to see through with that idea.
Okay, let's go ahead and we'll put that on there. Anybody else? All right, city council comments. Mr. McClung, let's start on your end.
Grateful to be here today. Good to see everybody.
Mr. Myers?
Glad we had a little rain.
That's
Hope it
true.
rains again.
Ms. Slang?
None, thank you.
All right, Ms. Green?
Mr. Schuneman brought up some interesting things, and I think that some of this, I'd love to see some of the business people get together and maybe consider property that could have amenities built, and that we could attract some of these seasonal workers. And it's a huge thing. These huge camping shows have booths for this, and they get people and job applications for them and set them up all over the country. And a lot of them love to work in tourist places, and they would love year-round work somewhere and a place where they feel safe. So I hope our business people will consider this, because it's not something the city can do. It's something that someone private, like our business people.
Mr. Ott?
Thank you. The topic came up earlier in the meeting about the CAPC and who's on there and all that stuff. I would just hope that whoever is on the CAPC realizes that the number one, if not the only industry in our community is tourism. And the CAPC is basically the board of directors for that industry. And I would hope that they would take it most seriously, because our whole community is built on that. So I'd hope that, as Mr. McClung mentioned, that even if you have differences of opinion on stuff, stay there, keep the decorum going, but let's make sure we honor and respect this industry that not only puts us on the map, but feeds probably 98% of the people in this community. So that's all I've got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. All right, as far as mayor comments go, I couldn't hardly say what Bill was saying any better. And Mr. McClung also, I think it's very important for all the commission, but especially for the CAPC. Obviously, we've got some oil and water going on, it looks like, and that we all work together, because if there's one thing I think we all agree on, we all want Eureka Springs to be successful. And for Eureka Springs to be successful, we need to work together in a positive manner. And we need to work and make sure that we do that, and that includes making sure we're at the meetings. I know we're going through some, at this point in time, some vacancies through there, but there's still always going to be enough for a quorum with our new member there and with our 2 city council members. And Jeff, that includes, it makes a quorum in itself, even if you exclude Carol Wright and the new, whoever takes James' place until that gets reappointed, and the other vacancy that we have there. It's still 4 people that can conduct a business. And I hope we can see our way to working together in a positive manner to get that accomplished. As far as announcements go, let me see if I can find those here. We got Music in the Park series is still going on. So far, it's been a great lineup that we've had. And this coming the 13th from noon till 2 will be the swing dance with Melon Light in the park. That's always fun. Melon Light's a great group of people down there, and if you've never seen it, please come out and attend. It's a lot of fun. And then that evening at 6 o'clock will be drumming in the park, and I know we'll have a lot of locals coming out for that and a lot of our visitors. The next day, on the 14th, will be the Eureka Strings. They'll be performing from noon till 2 p.m. And then on the 20th is Sky Pollard and the Family Holler. They'll be performing in the Basin Park from 5 to 7. And I know a lot of people were upset to see that the Cape Brothers got rained out. The good news is that the rain date's been set for September the 9th, so you can put that back on your calendar for the Cape Brothers on September the 9th. Other than that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If any opposed? All right, thank you all.